What's going on, guys and gals of YouTube? My name is Rounded Tic Tac, and welcome back to the first of many to come Outriders Worldslayer videos. Luckily enough, People Can Fly gave me some early access to Outriders Worldslayer, and I am allowed to share some of my thoughts before the game releases. So I wanted to go over just a quick, brief guide of what to expect in Worldslayer from someone who has actually experienced what you can expect, the new class trees, the new apocalypse tier system, the new gear, the new loot, and everything in between. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you guys some of my pros and cons of the expansion, kind of in a general sense. The video guides are going to be coming, and if you guys want to see live gameplay, if you're on the fence about purchasing it, you can always check me out at twitch.tv/roundedtictac. We will be streaming all day on release day, which is tomorrow if you have pre-ordered it. So come, stop by, say what's up, ask any question you have, and I will do my absolute best to answer it. We were lucky enough to get Worldslayer a few days early, and I have been basically playing my butt off. I have non-stopped tried to get the best stuff I can to get a jump start on guides and things to help people without access to such playtime as I have, to be able to know what to grind for. And there's a lot of good in Worldslayer. There are some negatives, but Worldslayer brings a lot of good things that, in my opinion, should have been there in the original base game. And if they were, the game may have had a little bit more longevity than it actually did. But first, let's start off with the campaign. So if you're new to Outriders and this is your first time ever being on my channel or hearing about the game, Outriders is a third-person looter shooter in the vein of something like Division mixed with Destiny 2, a sci-fi apocalyptic looter shooter where you kill things, get loot, get better loot, kill bigger things. That's the entire loop of the game. But let me tell you right from the rip, if you are new, you're going to have a blast in Outriders Worldslayer. The game's difficulty scaling with a brand new character, or they do offer a level 30 jump to jump into the new stuff right away, is pretty damn difficult. Even on my characters that I have, besides my Devastator and Pyromancer that are completely geared, my Trickster and Technomancer who aren't are struggling through the campaign. Not a bad struggle, but everything feels earned. Every single fight that I encounter, so sometimes I lose, and I finally get a piece of gear and am able to upgrade something and then be able to beat that next encounter. This is actually quite impressive considering how powerful our characters can become. And let me tell you, they can become ridiculously powerful. But if you're brand new to the game, be advised, you're going to get into some fights that are going to seem very, very difficult. You can watch streamers do it, but I promise you, some of the fights are tough. So that's your warning. Worldslayer, if you're a new player, it's going to be a rough go in a good way, in a very, very good way. However, on the flip side, if you have maxed out characters, how the new apocalypse system works, which we will touch on more in a minute, you'll be having a much easier time than most. Worldslayer's new campaign is a fight through with a bunch of new, never before seen bad guys for us to just mow down. There's a lot of cool encounters, a lot of cool boss fights. These enemies are really well done, bringing new mechanics to each one that we haven't seen before. These big axe throwy guys and some other things. I just wish personally that the enemies that they introduced were used more in the actual end game content, and the end game content we'll touch on more in just a minute. So yes, without spoiling anything, the campaign, you're in for a wild ride. There's a lot of cool things to experience, and trust me, if you can try to play with some friends, it makes the whole experience so much better. So what's the next thing to talk about that they brought in Worldslayer? Well, let's talk about the apocalypse system. This replaces the challenge tiers where we had in the end game from 1 to 15. Apocalypse tiers are now the entire length of the game. So the campaign plus the end game all will give you experience towards your apocalypse tier. These things are a hell of a lot of experience to level up. If I'm being completely honest, it's too much. That's just a side thought, but we'll get into the negatives and cons at the end of the video. The apocalypse system is really, really cool, adding a lot of replayability to the game, but I think it's a little excessive just in my opinion. Yes, it's great to see numbers scale up so high, but the necessity to level up, especially if you want to do more than one character, is going to be extreme. Just so you guys know, I've been playing non-stop for about 5 days, and I'm only on Apocalypse level 33, I believe, and that's with one character out of the 4 classes. You have to do this on each character to get to the highest Apocalypse tier. But they do bring a lot of replayability and a lot of tankiness, and every time you level, you can scale your gear even higher and keep pushing yourself to get the better and best loot you can. And lucky for us, they added these new things called the Pax Tree and the Ascension Tree. Let's touch on the Ascension Tree first. This is kind of combined with your Apocalypse tier. As you're leveling up your Apocalypse tier, you will be also leveling up your Ascension levels. This goes all the way up to 200, and if you've ever played Division 2, it's like the SHD watch, the Shade Watch, where it gives you a passive buff to a ton of different things. You can do crit damage to bosses, crit damage for your gun, skill damage, skill life leech, defense stuff, resistances. You can add a point every single time you level, all the way for 200 points, increasing all of your base stats by 10% or higher. So it's just something else to add on to help with the incredible scaling that does tend to happen in the game. And then we have the newcomer to the scene, which is the Pax Tree. The Pax Tree is every single class's further ability to specify what kind of build they want to go for. Pyromancer, Technomancer, Trickster, and Devastator all have their own individual trees with different perks that you can pick. Usually they're in the vein of your skill tree, so your top one will be like a gunplay build, and the bottom one is more of your anomaly power stuff. I can tell you that the Devastator one is incredibly powerful. There's a skill in there called Upheaval, which is insane. It adds so much damage to the Devastator's kit that you will no longer be struggling to kill anything, I promise. Even out damaging some Technomancers and Tricksters and Pyromancers that I have been able to play with in this beta. So be on the look for that skill, Upheaval. I can't show you everything within the game because I still am under embargo, but trust me, experiment with the Pax Trees. Every single one of them is a very powerful benefit to whatever kind of playstyle you want, and they're all really good and accessible and easy to level and easy to get the points for. There are 6 of them, so just continue to play the game. They will unlock through the campaign and the end game material, and they really do help specify your build. Let me give you an example just to get some crud off the coffin. It's just for Devastator in particular, you know how you used to always have to run bleed on your builds to get the bonus damage from the seismic set? Well, you no longer have to do that as one of the nodes. Every single seismic skill gives you bleed, so you can take that off of your gear and add another perk to really up your damage. It's really a great system, and I really do enjoy this experimentation here. Big fan. So along with Apocalypse tiers, we now also get Apocalypse loot, and this is the big baddie of the expansion. Adding 1 perk to each item in the game doesn't seem like a lot, but when you realize how many combinations you can make with said perks, it really does add up to ridiculous builds that you can come up with. At the moment on my Devastator, I'm running a bleed build, and it absolutely slaps. I really enjoy it. Let me give you an example of something you can find within the game. Here we have a helmet that you guys are probably well aware of, the Seismic Helm. The first 2 perks are mainstays of the build, but then we add on this new Impale perk, which allows me to take that perk off of something else and increase my anomaly power, or give me a defense item, or something along the lines there. You have 5 item slots to do this in, so you can imagine the kind of playstyles that you can come up with. Now, with that being said, the new loot is very difficult to get the way you want, and with the insane scaling that comes with the Apocalypse tiers, you kind of need the best loot you can get. Let me give you another example on the negative scope here. Since the gear is very difficult to get the way you want, putting the new gear sets, which I'll touch on in just a moment, together is a lot harder. And even playing nonstop like I have for the past 5 days, I still haven't been able to put together a comfortable gear set at appropriate level for one of the new gear sets. But speaking of the new gear sets, they are pretty cool. They actually turn Devastator into a support tree if you want to play that style, increasing the damage of your teammates by a metric crap ton. Or you could play the new Bleed Impale build, but I haven't really had time to experiment with these things yet because, like I said, getting a perfect roll on something is quite difficult. Not hard in the sense, just, you know, a long time invested to get the perfect drop. But that's a good thing. It adds a ton of replayability and a ton of chase that was definitely missing from Outriders originally. Because once you got a item drop, that was it. You didn't need another one. They were all rolling the exact same. Every time you level up a piece of gear in Outriders Worldslayer, you can also increase the scaling with your shards as well. Do not forget that because they don't tell you anywhere. So the new loot system is really cool. The Apocalypse gear is fantastic. A lot of the new weapon perks are amazing, like absolutely amazing. And they hit so hard because the scaling goes up so high that it's just a ton of fun to run around and one-shot things. And playing a Devastator, if you're watching this channel, you probably are, it's absolutely a blast to be able to actually do damage. Now, before this video gets any longer, this is a lot longer than I already planned on it, let me just give you some pros and cons of my personal experience and just kind of just shooting the shit with you. Outriders Worldslayer, to me, has been a lot of fun. I really do wish that People Can Fly would just make it a games as a service. I really do. It's so perfectly groomed for that kind of game that it sucks that they decided to go with the expansion route, because now once everybody beats this stuff, we're going to have to wait months and months and months for another update, if we even get one. The new endgame Tarier guitar, which I can't really show on this video due to embargo stuff, is fantastic and is easily added on to later down the road. I just wish it was a bit longer and a bit more to do. It's a lot of fun to run through multiple times, but the replayability is definitely an issue here. You do have all of the expeditions you can do as well, but the gear from the expeditions is paled in comparison to the gear that drops from the new endgame activity. And I also have to keep in mind that I am a special case. Most people will not be spending 5 days straight grinding this game to get the best stuff. And if that's the case, then I do think the Apocalypse tier combined with the new endgame Tarier guitar will be sufficient for the vast majority of the population who want to play Outriders. The core set of the game here is very well done. There are some problems, but a lot of those problems can be fixed with updates or patches, or who knows, maybe they have some more content coming down the line. All in all, I think the update is really well done and brings a lot of positives to the game where things were missing. Do I wish they used more of the new content they added through the campaign with the new endgame? Absolutely. Do I wish the campaign was a little longer? Absolutely. But again, I'm coming in on fully geared characters that make this content a lot easier than it probably is meant to be. Again, if you're coming in on a brand new character, you're going to be having a much harder time, in a good sense, a difficult time, and every single piece of gear that you get is going to be a huge upgrade to your build. The random rolls on the Apocalypse gear keep the loot grind fresh, and even though I've been playing non-stop, I still have not been able to get everything that I want to. But that's really it, guys. That is my first look at Outriders Worldslayer. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. I will get back to them as soon as I can. And if you want to catch me out live, once again, I'll be live tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/roundedtictac. This was just a quick first look at what you can expect to find within Outriders Worldslayer. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Tic Tac out.